I'll never forget that night. It was near closing time at the pizza place where I worked. I was behind the counter, cleaning up and getting ready to head out when the phone rang. I was the only one up front, so I picked it up. Silence. No static, no background noise, just complete, suffocating silence. Weirded out, I hung up. About a minute later, the phone rang again. I sighed and answered it, expecting a prank or a glitch. Again, nothing, just the same eerie silence. I was about to hang up when I heard something. A voice. Soft, fragile, like it was coming from far away. It was the voice of an old woman, tired, cold, almost brittle as she spoke. She said she wanted a regular pie delivered. I stayed polite, but every muscle in my body tensed. All I could think about was going home and ending my shift. Still, I called out to my boss and told him someone had requested a delivery. He told me I had to take it. I wanted to protest, I really did, but I held my tongue. I figured, fine, one last delivery. Maybe a decent tip to end the night. The elderly usually tipped well anyway. I wrote down the address and told her it'd be on its way soon. But she had already hung up. No goodbye, no thank you, just dead air and a click. I frowned at the rudeness, but shrugged it off and yelled to the kitchen that I needed one regular. My boss told me I could go home after this drop. It was the last order. So, a little before midnight, I grabbed the box, got in my car, and punched the address into my GPS. 7 miles. The GPS led me to a quieter part of town, a place I didn't know well. The houses grew sparse. The streets grew darker. It felt isolated. Finally, I arrived. A small, single-story house sat at the end of a dead-end road. No streetlights, no cars, no movement. It was quiet, too quiet. I got out of my car, pizza box in hand, and walked up to the front door. There were no lights on inside, not a flicker. I hesitated. Had she given me the wrong address? I rang the doorbell. Nothing. I waited, glanced around the shadowy block. Every house seemed asleep or abandoned. I rang again. Still no answer. Just as I turned to leave, something caught my eye. A figure, standing at the window. My chest clenched. I froze. Someone was watching me from inside the house. I instinctively stepped back, heart racing, but curiosity, or maybe duty, pushed me forward. I leaned closer, squinting through the dim glass. It was her. An elderly woman, probably in her late 70s, with wispy gray hair and hollow eyes. She stood motionless, her face pressed close to the glass, expressionless. I raised my voice. "Hi, I've got your pizza." No response. She just stood there, unmoving, staring. I called out again, louder this time, "Ma'am, your pizza's here." And then she smiled. Not a warm, grateful smile. No, this was wrong. It stretched too far across her face, unnatural, like her skin didn't quite fit. That smile burrowed straight into my spine, icy and awful. I'll never forget how it made me feel, like I'd just been seen by something that shouldn't exist. I couldn't take it anymore. I backed away, turned around, and walked briskly to my car. I tossed the pizza onto the passenger seat and slid behind the wheel, fingers trembling as I typed out a quick text to my boss. No one answered. "This place is creepy. I'm leaving." I hit send and started the engine. I just wanted to get out of there. But as I turned to check my mirrors, I glanced to my right, and there she was, standing just inches from the passenger side window. That same dead stare, that same inhuman smile. No sound, no movement. She hadn't opened a door. I hadn't heard a step. It was like she had just appeared. I slammed the gear into drive and sped off down the street, refusing to look back. I didn't care if she got her pizza. I didn't even care if I got paid. When I got back, my boss never asked me to do a late-night delivery again, and I never answered another phone call after closing. This happened about 4 years ago, back when I was still in high school. It was the last delivery of my shift, just one more run before I could clock out and head home. I grabbed the box, slid into my car, a reliable old Camry that had been my trusty delivery car for months, and typed the address into my phone's GPS. I live upstate, way out in the country, so most deliveries meant long, winding drives through back roads and woods. I didn't mind it, usually. It gave me time to zone out. The sun was starting to dip beneath the treetops, casting long shadows over the road. I'd say it was around 7 p.m. The sky was golden orange, but the deeper into the forest I drove, the darker it became. After a good 20 minutes of driving on uneven, dusty dirt roads, my GPS dinged. "You've arrived." I looked up. It was a small, old lake house, a cottage really, built almost entirely out of weathered wood, its walls faded gray by time and sun. The place sat completely alone, surrounded by trees on all sides. No neighboring homes, no streetlights, just forest. The lawn hadn't been touched in ages, grass nearly up to my knees, swaying in the light breeze. Still, I'd seen weirder out here. Country folks often lived tucked away like this. So I grabbed the pizza, walked to the front porch, and looked for a door. There wasn't one. Only a jagged, dark opening where a front door should have been. A crooked door frame gaped into the shadows of the house. I hesitated for a second before knocking on the wood frame loudly so it echoed inside. Almost immediately, I heard it. Footsteps. Fast, sharp, almost frantic, slapping against creaky wooden floors. They rushed up to the doorway and stopped, just on the other side. I couldn't see anyone, but I could feel it. Someone was standing there, watching me. Then I noticed it. A peephole, right in the center of the empty doorway, covered by a thin sheet of something I hadn't noticed before. And I was dead center in its view. "It's the pizza guy," I called out, trying to keep my voice steady. A low, scratchy voice replied, so harsh it almost didn't sound human. "Bring it out back." My skin crawled. "Sorry? Are you sure, sir?" I asked, half hoping he'd come to the door instead. But there was no answer. No footsteps walking away. Just silence. Which meant he was still there, still watching me from behind that hole. I wanted to leave. Every instinct in me screamed to walk back to the car and drive away. But I remembered what happened the last time I brought a pizza back to the store. My boss gave me grief for it, accused me of being lazy. So I took a deep breath, clenched my jaw, and walked through the tall, whispering grass around the side of the cottage to the backyard. The back of the house had a small, rotting patio. An old wooden shed leaned to one side, its door slightly ajar. On the patio sat a round table with 4 chairs around it. And in one of the chairs, facing away from me, was someone, a person, still completely motionless. Their head was visible just above the back of the chair. Short, silver hair, not moving, not even a twitch. I walked cautiously across the grass. "Excuse me?" I said, trying not to sound scared. No response. I stepped a little closer. "Excuse me?" I called out, louder this time. Still nothing. Then, over here, a voice behind me. I spun around. A man was peeking out from the far side of the house, only half his face visible from around the corner. He smiled at me. It wasn't just a weird smile, it was wrong. Too wide, too eager, too still. "Come over here," he said. "I want to show you something." His voice was smooth but unhinged, like someone barely holding it together. That was it. Panic took over. I turned and bolted the opposite direction, pushing through the thick grass, not caring how loud I was. I sprinted around the cottage, heart hammering in my chest, still clutching the pizza box like an idiot. I didn't stop until I reached my car. I flung the door open, dove in, and locked it the second I got inside. My fingers shook as I started the engine. Gravel and dust flew as I peeled away from that place, refusing to look back. I didn't stop driving until I hit the main road. Once I felt somewhat safe, I pulled over to the shoulder, grabbed my phone, and dialed 911. I told them everything. Eventually, the police got back to me. They said no one had lived in that cottage for years. It had been abandoned for a long time. No electricity, no signs of occupation. Nothing. Whatever I saw back there, it wasn't supposed to be there. I quit that delivery job a few days later. Couldn't sleep, couldn't stop replaying it. And even now, years later, I still lie awake sometimes, haunted by one question. What would I have seen if I'd turned around to face that person in the patio chair? Or worse, what if they had stood up? I was doing late-night deliveries during this particular shift. At the time, I was living in the Poconos, deep in the rural heart of Pennsylvania, surrounded by nothing but hills, forests, and miles of isolated roadways. Most nights were peaceful, quiet, maybe too quiet. This night was different. The fog was thick, so dense I could barely see the trees lining the edge of the road. My headlights cut through it in pale cones, flickering as the mist rolled by like smoke. I was driving down a familiar shortcut into town, a road I'd taken hundreds of times before. And then, suddenly, thud. I slammed on the brakes as a figure lunged out from the bushes, straight into my path. The car jolted violently, and I heard a sickening bump and thump beneath the hood. My hands tightened on the wheel. My heart stopped. "No, no, no, no," I muttered, pressing my palm to my forehead. What the hell just happened? I opened the door and stumbled out, the cold night air stinging my face as I rushed around the front of the car. He was lying there. A man, black hoodie pulled low over his face, motionless. His body was curled slightly near my front tire, like a discarded doll. "Jesus," I whispered. Panic took hold. My thoughts spiraled. Why the hell would someone be out here, middle of nowhere? No houses nearby, no lights, just trees and fog. And this man, lying in the road like he'd been waiting for me. Then, something else. A scream. High-pitched, ragged, coming from deep within the woods to my left. "Help!" It was faint, but unmistakable. A voice, a desperate one. I looked down at the man again. Still motionless, still lying just where I'd hit him. I hesitated, thinking, I'll only be gone a minute. Maybe someone else needs help. Maybe there's been another accident. So, against every instinct screaming at me to stay put, I stepped into the tree line and headed toward the direction of the scream. But the second I did, everything changed. Silence. No voices now, just the sound of my own breathing. And the woods, alive with the hum of insects, the occasional rustle of wind through leaves, and distant, eerie chirps of night creatures. "Hello?" I called out. "Where are you?" No answer. And then, snap. The crisp crunch of a foot pressing into dead leaves, directly to my right. I spun, eyes straining in the foggy darkness. Through the branches, I could just barely make out a silhouette, half hidden behind a tree, watching me. I didn't wait. I turned and ran. Branches slapped at my arms, twigs cracked beneath my feet, but I didn't stop, not until I broke through the trees and saw my car in the distance. Only, the man I'd hit? Gone. The road was empty. The hood of my car was undented, the tire clean. No sign of blood, no footprints. I didn't care. I jumped back into the car, slammed the door shut, and sped off down the road, heart pounding so hard it hurt. The rest of the drive was a blur. My hands shook the entire way, but somehow I still delivered the pizza. I pulled into the driveway, still rattled, and rang the doorbell. A middle-aged woman answered. She was kind, maybe in her late 40s, with tired eyes and a soft voice. She paid for the pizza, thanked me, and was about to close the door when she paused. Her eyes locked onto something behind me. "You guys are allowed delivery partners now?" she asked casually, tilting her head. I blinked. "Excuse me?" She pointed toward my car. "There's someone sitting in the back seat." I felt a tight knot twist in my stomach. I turned slowly, and there he was. Through the glass, barely visible in the dim light, someone was sitting in the back seat of my car, still, silent, watching me. I turned back to the woman, panic rising in my throat. "Can I borrow your phone?" She nodded quickly and handed it over. I called the police immediately. They arrived not long after, 2 cruisers, lights cutting through the fog. But by the time they searched the car, the back seat was empty. Whoever had been there was gone. There were no footprints, no signs of forced entry, no shattered glass, just silence and an open road. But what they did find, a knife, tucked under the seat as if carefully placed there. Its handle was soaked in something dark, blood. Even now, years later, I can't stop replaying it in my head, how close I came to something I don't even want to imagine. And the scariest part? If I hadn't gone through with the delivery, if I'd panicked and driven straight home, I might never have noticed the man in the back. I might have brought him straight to my house.